Om Shanti, everyone. Good evening. I think today is a very, very special and lucky day for us because anyway we know that the Dadis are so busy and so scarce. Isn't that right? And on top of that today, Dadi Ratan Mohini, her health was not good. But she specially made an extra effort to come up and be with us today. So I think we are doubly fortunate and we need to thank her in advance for her special effort. As many of you might know, Dadi is one of Baba's original jewels who joined the organization right from the beginning. So she's been with the group of Dadis for 72 years now, running the organization and doing most of the administration. I think many of you know that she's our most youthful Dadi, and so she's actually in charge of the youth retreats and the youth wing of the Brahma Kumaris. And she's also always been very instrumental in training the young Kumaris and the teachers who then go on to run the centers. So these have been some of Dadi's very special skills right from the beginning. So I'll hand over to Dadi, who'll be with us, and a big thanks to her from our heart for making the effort to come today. Who is meeting Dadi for the first time? Who has never met Dadi before this kalpa? Dadi, ये सब आपसे पहली बारी मिल रहे हैं. Thank you.
Om Shanti. आप सबको देखकर यही मन में आता है.
While seeing you all today my mind feels unlimited Father. And if you want to see the practical proof of that unlimited Father, then you can see that here. When children from all over the world are coming together, and when you see the whole family, naturally one feels who is the father of that family. And the other thing that I remember is that Baba was remembering you children in the Sakar form. And he used to say to us that children will come from all over the world. Baba even used to sometimes say that when people overseas hear this knowledge, they will very quickly and very easily understand this knowledge. And at that time, we never expected how children will come from all around the world, how they'll understand this knowledge. All we knew was God was saying this. So definitely somewhere in the future, all these things will happen and we will see them happen. So now, I'm seeing myself. Everything that we heard God say is what I'm practically seeing as proof today. They say that whatever you see with your eyes, you never forget. But I must say that when we used to hear Baba's versions in the early days, we always used to think, how will this happen? How will it happen? But at the same time, there was always the faith that it has to happen because We had faith that God has come. We had faith that this was God speaking. And so we knew that He was the one who would create the whole world. He was the one who was the Father of all the souls in the world. And they say that God is the one who knows what's in everyone's heart or knows everything. So whatever He says would have to be accurate. So on the basis of this faith, whatever we used to hear, we used to think that they were correct, and we were happy. Baba used to tell us so many things of the future, and he does that even now. And so, when Baba tells us these things, it was like our faith that had been there for so many years suddenly took practical proof when we saw that the things that Baba said came true. You've probably heard in the history of the yagya that early days we didn't have so much knowledge, there was not those many details. But even though we didn't have that knowledge, we had such power of faith. Faith that was totally immovable. At that point in time, we just knew that remembrance of that one God, that Father, we used to call Him God. We didn't even know the word Shiv Baba that well at that time. But when we used to remember Baba, remember God, our thoughts would become very powerful, and it would help us completely have faith in everything that he said. In the early days, people never used to believe all the things that were being said. But those of us who came to Baba and we practically saw that even though Baba's form was so ordinary, and yet in such an ordinary form, I have to say that for me, that proof was always there, that this is God. And on the basis of that, it was so easy to always have remembrance. Is that the topic of today? Just to have accurate remembrance? What is accurate remembrance? Baba talked a little bit yesterday about what are the signs of those who have knowledge and yoga. And if you think about that, what he said yesterday in the Murli, Baba actually gave the whole understanding of what accurate remembrance was. He talked about patience, maturity, and understanding, didn't he?
इस कहने का भाव ये है कि आज बाबा ने जो इस प्रकार से कहा है कि यथार्थ याद के लिए धैर्यता, गंभीरता और समझ.
And so we have to actually think about why did Baba say that these three things are really important. How are they connected? How are these three things connected to remembrance?
इन सब से अथवा इन्हीं बातों से याद निरंतर कैसे.
And how can remembrance stay continuous or constant through these three things, these three aspects?
याद का पहला फाउंडेशन निश्चय ही.
I think the first point for remembrance is faith.
और निश्चय हम किसको कहते हैं?
And what is faith actually?
ऐसे तो सब कहेंगे हाँ हमें निश्चय.
Because everyone says, yes, I have faith.
परंतु आप जानते हैं और विशेष भारत में इस बात को माना जाता है
But in India,
जब
it's
भगवान कहा
very
जाता है
commonly
ईश्वर कहा
understood
जाता
and
है
known that when you say God,
ईश्वर की
Ishwar,
अथवा भगवान शब्द की परिभाषा बहुत ऊंची
then that definition of the word
अब
God means he must
इतनी
be a
ऊंची
very
भावना
high person, must be like the highest on high
बाप
entity.
को साधारण रूप में देखते हुए
And so for us,
और
we see
हमारे
such a high
अंदर
person in such an
ऐसी
ordinary
ऊंची
form,
भावनाएं सदा बनी रहे
and yet for us to keep
जिन
those
भावनाओं के आधार
high
पर ही
feelings,
बाबा के हर
those very
महावाक्य
elevated
को
feelings,
हम स्वयं के अंदर
so that we can actually
फौरन धारण कर सकें
quickly imbibe what he says.
इसलिए हम तो यही कहेंगे कि शुरू में जब कि इतना विस्तार
So in the early
नहीं था
days when
और ऐसे
there
कहें
wasn't so
कि
much expansion,
बाप का परिचय जो आज जिन
and we
शब्दों
didn't
में
even
इतना
have
स्पष्ट
the
हम देते हैं
introduction of God
वो
the
भी
way we
उस
have
समय
it these
नहीं
days.
था
We didn't have
उस
all that in
समय
the
तो
early
केवल
days. All we knew
मैं
was,
आत्मा
I
हूँ
am a soul.
भले मैं ये कहते थे मैं आत्मा परमात्मा की संतान
And we used to say, I, the soul,
परंतु
am a
मैं
family of the
आत्मा
Supreme Soul.
निराकार देह से न्यारी
But
देह को चलाने वाली शक्ति ऐसे
we didn't
निश्चय के
know.
आधार पर बाप की पहचान
All
जब
we knew
इस
with
निश्चय
faith
के
was that
आधार
I,
पर
the soul,
बाप
am
की
the one who
पहचान
makes this
की
body
और
move. I am the soul
बाप
who is incorporeal. We
निराकार
had faith in that.
साधारण रूप में
And
हम
then that faith
आत्माओं
helped us
से मिल रहे
understand
हैं
that God,
तो
who is
यह
also
जो
incorporeal, is
हमारा
coming and
शुरू
meeting
का
us.
अभ्यास
That's
था
all we knew in the beginning, and that was the only
आत्मा
practice
भाई भाई
that we used to do. I am a
स्वयं
soul,
को
and I, the soul, look at
आत्मा
my
समझ
soul, my brother,
करके
who is
हम
also a soul.
बैठे आत्मा समझ के बैठते हैं और
We used to think of
देह
ourselves as a
को
soul.
देह से
I, the soul,
न्यारा
am sitting here.
मन के
I am
साथ
separate to
देह
my
और देह
body.
की कर्म इंद्रियों को चलाने वाला
But I am the one who is always in
तो
charge of
उस
the sense
शक्ति के
organs, making the
आधार
sense
से
organs move.
और फिर वो मैं आत्मा सर्वशक्तिमान परमात्मा की संतान यह
I, the soul,
अभ्यास
am.
इतना ऊंचा अनुभव कराता था जिस आधार पर ऐसा कह सकती हूँ मैं
Sorry, Daddy is saying that
याद
that kind of
भूल के
simple remembrance was
चाहे
something that
हम
gave us such
उस
deep
समय आते
experiences.
थे लौकिक से पर जब से
And even
सत्संग
when
से
we came from our
जाएंगे
Lokik home to the
और
satsang
यहाँ
on a daily
पहुँचे
basis,
बैठे
the minute
सारा
we'd sit
दिन
down,
मन के
because we had
अंदर
practiced, I am a
ये
soul, I'm a
धुन
soul,
रहती
we used to
थी
have very good
और इसी
experiences.
धुन के आधार
On
पर
the basis of all
जैसे
that
कि वो
practice that we
मस्ती
did
चढ़ी
during the day, we always felt that we
तो
were
मैं समझती हूँ
intoxicated.
हमारी याद का आधार
So I
या
would have to
आज
say
तो
that the
वर्ल्ड
basis
में
of
याद की
remembrance,
यात्रा पर भी बाबा ने
or whether you
समझाया
call
है
it the pilgrimage of
और इन
remembrance,
शब्दों का अगर अर्थ ले धैर्यता गंभीरता और समझ
then
समझ
patience,
के अंदर हम
maturity, and
देखें तो
understanding
बहुत
are
सा
like a
विस्तार है
foundation of
पूरी
remembrance.
समझ चाहिए
Even if you just think of the word
निराकार
understanding, you
शक्ति
need
क्या है
full understanding.
निराकार
What
शक्ति
is the
के कहाँ
power of
भरती
being
है
incorporeal?
और
What can that
निराकार
power of
बाप
being
हमें
incorporeal
कितनी
do for
ऊंची
us?
नॉलेज और कितने स्पष्ट रूप से कितनी सरल भाषा में दे रहे हैं
Because God, that
अगर
incorporeal
इसी
soul,
में भी
can give
हम
us all of the
नॉलेज को
knowledge that we
समझने
have
की
in such a
कोशिश
clear
करें
way.
तो हमारी बुद्धि उन्हीं बातों में रमन करती रहेगी और इन्हीं बातों में रमन करते हुए बुद्धि दिव्य बन जाती है दिव्य बुद्धि के अंदर यह धैर्यता
When
गंभीरता रहता
the
है
intellect of the soul
जब याद
becomes
में बैठे
divine,
तो
it's only
कितनी
when the intellect is
अनोख अचल
divine
अवस्था बन
that these
जाती
three things of
परंतु
patience,
वही
maturity, and
ज्ञान
understanding can enter the
जिसको
intellect.
सही माना में कहा जाए बाबा वर्तमान समय भी हम बच्चों
Even
को
now, Baba
आत्म अभिमानी बनने पर जोर
is
देता
still
है
teaching us to be
देवी अभिमानी
incorporeal, to be soul
मेहनत सारी
conscious.
इसमें है
And he always
क्यों
says the effort is
अंत
always
समय
in this. Because
हमें
at the end,
यही अवस्था
It is only this
काम में
stage
आएगी।
that will be useful to
अभी भी
us.
अगर हम देखें, कोई भी बात आती है,
Even now, if you
चाहे
just think of any issues or any
चाहे
problems that happen, whether they're big problems or little
अगर
problems,
हमें अपने अंदर ये पक्का
if you
निश्चय
have
है,
this faith deep inside you,
हम सर्वशक्तिमान परमात्मा के साथ,
that I am
जब हम सर्वशक्तिमान परमात्मा
part of the
कहते हैं,
family of God the Almighty
तो
One,
अंदर में अपना ध्यान उसी
then the minute you
परमधाम
say that,
उसी
it,
बाप के
your
तरफ
attention
जाता है।
automatically goes
भले ही बाप के
to
साथ
that one
साथ
who lives in
हमें यह
Paramdam.
नॉलेज है, बल्कि प्रत्यक्ष रूप में देखा कि वही बाप साकार में हम बच्चों से कैसे मिलते रहे, समझाते रहे, आगे बढ़ाते रहे।
It is our practical proof, though, that we know that God comes here, He teaches us, He looks after us, and yet the remembrance of that incorporeal one is what gives us strength.
और हिस्ट्रियों से आपने सुना
In the
होगा
early days, nobody used to
कैसे
believe this.
पवित्रता के बल पर माताओं ने कितने
And yet, on
सितम
the
सहन
basis
किए
of
और
purity,
किस
the
प्रकार
mothers
से
had to
अपने बल से अपन को स्वतंत्रता
tolerate so much, and yet by continuing on with their purity, they managed to free themselves from
और
any
बाप
difficulties in
में
their
अटल
life.
विश्वास
And so it was just
केवल
that complete
विश्वास ही
faith,
नहीं, परंतु
unbroken
विश्वास
faith
के
in Baba,
साथ साथ
and along with faith,
जो भी महावाक्य सुने, उन महावाक्यों की
whatever
जीवन में
elevated versions Baba
पूर्ण रूप
taught
से
us,
था।
we used to imbibe them into our
शुरू की
lives
शक्ति वही थी
completely. That was what
जब
gave us power in the earlier
जब
days.
हम बाप के पास आए, एक धक से पुरानी दुनिया
When we came to the Father, it was like the old world was removed from our
अभी
intellect
तो
in
दुनिया
1
का विस्तार
minute,
हमारे
in one
सामने
go.
है। हम लोग भी दुनिया में आकर के और सबको बाप का संदेश देते हैं, और वो संदेश देते
Now we go into the world and we give
भिन्न
people
रंगत लोगों के
this
भिन्न
message
विचार
from Baba
सुनने को
in many
मिलते
different
हैं।
ways.
लेकिन ये सब सुनते हुए
We hear even
अपने
what they have
स्वयं
to
के
say about their own teachings.
अंदर में सदा इस बात का अभ्यास बहुत
But
जरूरी
one
है।
practice that we always have to keep up,
जैसे कल भी बाबा
no
ने
matter
बोला
where we
है और
are.
आज भी
Baba
बोला
talked
है,
about it yesterday and he's talked
यह
about it today
रूहानी
again in the
यात्रा
Murli.
कितनी सहज है, चलते फिरते उठते
He said
बैठते
that the spiritual
हम इस
pilgrimage is
यात्रा
so
पर
easy,
चल
whether you're
सकते,
moving
चलते
around,
रहते हैं।
walking, sitting, no
तो
matter what you're
यह
doing.
अभ्यास
It is such an easy
हमें अंदर
practice.
ही अंदर, अगर हमारे मन के अंदर यह लगन लगी, बात आती है कि हमें अंदर में यह लगन लगी हो,
All you need to do is to
अब
just have this
हमें
deep feeling, this deep
भगवान
desire
मिले हैं। और उसके लिए बाबा
that
भिन्न
I have
भांति
now found
हमें
God,
सिमटी
that
में
God is
मिलाते
now
हैं
bringing
और
so many
स्पष्ट
different types of
स्पष्टीकरण में
awarenesses
बताते हैं।
into my
बच्चे, यह
intellect.
केवल अंतिम जन्म है,
He is the
यह
one who is telling
सारे
me,
सृष्टि
child, it's your
चक्र की
last birth,
अंतिम
it's your
घड़ी है।
last few moments
समय भी
within this
अंतिम
cycle
है,
of the world.
सृष्टि बदलने वाली
The
है,
world has to now
और ये
change,
बदलने वाली जब सृष्टि है तो उसके पहले
and before the
हम
world
अगर स्वयं
changes,
को बदल देते हैं तो हम
you
बाप
have to
के
change
साथ
yourself. And if you do change
उसी
yourself before
अपने
the world
घर
changes, then
पे
you can go home
जा
with the
सकेंगे
Father to
और
your,
घर से फिर बाप
and from your
हमारे
home,
लिए नई दुनिया
then
बना रहे
the
हैं,
Father is going to
वहाँ
create this new world for you,
जाएंगे।
and you will go there.
ये सब बातें हम सुनते हैं, मानते हैं,
So we hear all these
समझते
things in the
हैं,
Murli, we understand
लेकिन
them, we
समझने
believe
के
them,
साथ धैर्यता
but we
हमें ये सिखाती है
need to have
कि अंदर ही
patience.
अंदर जिन बातों को हम समझते हैं,
So along with
उन
understanding,
बातों
we need
को
to have
हम
patience that whatever I
जीवन के अंदर
understand,
किस
I
प्रकार
have to
से
then slowly,
धारण
slowly
कर
imbibe
आगे
these
बढ़े।
things into my life.
कैसी भी परिस्थिति आती है,
no matter what situations occur in my
ज्ञान की
life,
यात्रा अर्थात सर्वशक्तिवान भगवान मेरा बाप।
the Almighty Authority Father
जैसे हम
is my
मानते
Father,
हैं भगवान के लिए
and I
जो
have to
चाहे
always
सो कर
remember that.
सकते हैं। भले बाप हमें अपना भेद बताते हैं, नहीं ये ड्रामा बना हुआ है,
Even though
लेकिन
God
ड्रामा
tells us
अगर
that
बना हुआ होते भी
drama is pre-created, it's
हम जब
already
विश्वास रखते हैं बाप में, और जब
unchangeable,
कोई ऐसा आपत्काल आता है तो वह अटल निश्चय का बल
but I would have to say that
बाप की शक्ति से हमें
with
उसमें
the faith,
सफलता का
complete faith, when difficult situations
ये सब
happen,
मिसाल
they're the ones that give us
ये
success in
सब
this drama.
प्रत्यक्ष फल हम अपने जीवन में
And I've practically
तभी
seen the
अनुभव
proof
कर सकते
of
हैं
that.
जब ये हमको दिन रात
So day and night,
लगन लगी
we need to have this
कार्य
deep
करते
desire,
हुए बाबा कहते हैं
whilst
गृहस्थ व्यवहार में
being at home, while being with the
अपने
family, while
परिवार की
doing
पालना,
work, while looking after the ones
अपना
in your
व्यवहार
household.
संभालते हुए भी हमें अंदर इस बात का अभ्यास
It's good to have this practice all the time
चलो समझो
internally
अभ्यास करते करते कभी
of
कोई
just
काम
being
ऐसा
so
पड़ता है
conscious.
जिसमें हमें अपनी बुद्धि देनी पड़ती है,
Sometimes there are certain types of jobs where you
वो
do
हमारी
have to
बुद्धि
involve your
उसमें व्यस्त है।
intellect, and your intellect does get caught up with
वो
that
काम
type
पूरा
of
हो
work. But the minute that work is
हमें
finished,
याद आना चाहिए।
then go back to
ऐसी
remembrance.
लगन जब हमारे अंदर लगी हुई रहती है
So it's only when we
तो
have
हम
such a deep
इस याद
desire
में
or
जो
want
बाबा कहते हैं
inside
निरंतर याद, चलो
to stay in
बीच बीच में
remembrance
कोई काम के
continuously,
कारण
constantly,
हमारा बुद्धि योग
that we
उसमें लग
will
जाता है,
achieve our
परंतु
result.
अगर अधिक समय, क्योंकि चलते फिरते उठते बैठते कितना टाइम
I know
लगता
that certain jobs do take up a lot of
है, सचमुच अगर हम
concentration
अपने
and your
ऊपर
intellect
ध्यान
gets
दें
involved. But while you're moving
और अगर
around,
हम
walking from here,
डायरेक्शन
there,
है
etc., you can still pay
तो अपने
attention at
को
that
ऐसे
time.
महसूस होगा कि बरोबर समय अगर हम चाहें तो हम अपना समय अर्थात अंदर अपने मन बुद्धि की लगन हम बाप के साथ अधिक से अधिक समय लगा सकते हैं,
And it's only when you have that deep
लेकिन उसके
determination
लिए
that you'll be able
हमें
to
अपना
spend
पूरा
uh,
अटेंशन
the
चाहिए।
maximum amount of
जब
time
अटेंशन हम
with
दें
attention,
तब
just making
हमारी
sure that
लगन लगी रही कोई भी बात की।
your
दुनिया में
connection,
भी
your
अगर कोई
feelings are
काम
always
करना
with the
है
Father.
जरूर, ऐसा
It's
अगर
the same in the
हमारे
Lokik
मन में
world,
है
isn't it? You know, if you
तो
have this
किसी भी
thought in your mind
प्रकार
that I
से
really have to
जहाँ भी
do
व्यस्त
something, I
होंगे
must
कुछ
do
भी
it,
होगा, फिर भी जब मुझे
then no
ये
matter
काम
how busy
करना
you
है
are, no matter where you're caught
कैसे
up,
न
when
कैसे
you
हम
want to do
टाइम
something,
निकाल
you
के
will do
उसको
it. You'll
करते
even
हैं।
find the time to do it.
ये तो मैं समझती हूँ अपना अपना अपने अपने क्षेत्र के अनुसार हर एक को अनुभव होगा। इसी प्रकार से
I'm sure you've all had that kind of experience in your
इस बात
life.
को भी लेना
So, in
है,
the same way,
अगर हम यह बात ऐसे मान के चले
if we really
कि
want to,
वास्तव में हमारी जीवन यही है,
if we really believe that this is our life,
बाबा
and
भी
God has
हमें
created this life
बार
for
बार
us,
ये
God is the one
याद
who's
दिलाते
made our
हैं,
life like this,
जब अभ्यास करते हो
then
पहले अपने
with that
अनादि
thought,
स्वरूप में
we'll
स्थित
make things happen. That's
फिर
why Baba
आदि
always
स्वरूप
tells us
में,
first go into your eternal
फिर
stage,
अपने पूज्य
then go
स्वरूप
into your
में।
original stage,
ये
then your
सब
worthy
बातें
of
बाबा
worship
हमें
stage.
इसलिए स्मृति में
The
दिलाते
reason
हैं
Baba keeps telling
कि
us to
जो
have the awareness of all
हमने
these different
पाठ
stages
बजाया है
is that the
वह
part that we have
हमें
played,
स्मृति ऐसी जागृत हो
if we keep having the
जो
awareness of
हमें
that
ये
part,
महसूस हो
then we will have the feeling
बरोबर
that
मैंने अर्थात आत्मा ने
I, that is I, the
यह
soul,
पाठ बजाई है
has been the
या
one who has
मैंने ही ये
played
पाठ
this
बजाई
role.
है।
this
में ही
part.
वो जीवन है
So
अथवा
if it is
थी,
I who have done
तो
that,
मैं फिर से अभी बना सकती हूँ
then I can recreate that
इसी
stage. I can
प्रकार से।
recreate that
और
part now
इसमें
through my effort.
दूसरा रहस्य ये भी समाया हुआ है
And the other secret that's involved in all of this is that
आदि मध्य अंत हमारे जीवन का, हमारा
the
मन
beginning, the middle, and the
मुझ
end of
आत्मा
my
का
own life,
आदि से अंत तक, जब से मैं परम धाम से इस सृष्टि मंच पर आई, जो जो मैं पाठ बजाती रही,
so the beginning meaning when I first came down from Paramdhan, the middle being all the parts that I've been playing throughout the cycle, and the end being the part that I'm playing now at the end. Baba reminds us of this whole cycle, and Baba calls it knowledge.
परंतु इस नॉलेज को अगर हम ये माने कि ये हमारी जीवन मैंने व्यतीत की है,
And so if you think to yourself that I am the one who has spent my whole cycle, my whole time playing this role, if I keep remembering it, then that awareness actually awakens something within me. And by knowing that it's me who actually played that part, the happiness of having played that part, the bliss of having played that part, will be created within me. And that happiness actually gives I, the soul, strength to redo it again. When I say I always say it meaning I, the soul. So I have played this part, and when I was in the early days of that part, I had so much power. And so the awareness of that power helps me recreate it. It's also what we call the power of being Trikaldarshi. That awareness also gives me faith that I am the one who has played such a high part. And it's God who's actually reminding me of the part that I have played. And so God reminds me of it, and then I keep bringing it back into my awareness again and again. Baba has given me this ability to recognize that I have my whole part actually within me. And when Baba is reminding me of my part of the early days, of the original days, and so if I go into that time, into that stage, and I remember my whole part in an accurate way, not just my part, but I remember the Father in an accurate way, the one who knows the beginning, middle, and end of my whole part, and who is telling me that in an accurate way, then by remembering the Father and the accuracy of everything He tells me, and I compare it with what my life was before, it gives me the faith to be able to, not just the faith, but also the strength of yoga. It gives me the strength that no matter what is happening in my life at that time, I won't be aware of that. I'll just stay in my original awareness, my original remembrance of who I am. Because what happens is usually when there's external situations, the first thing that happens is we forget the Father.
याद करते हैं। भगवान की भावनाओं से भगवान की बात सत्य है,
The
जो
Father is the
बताता है
truth, and
उसे
whatever feelings He tells us, anything with its
ऐसे
feelings of the truth.
मानकर जब हम याद करते हैं तो हम भी स्वयं के सत्य स्वरूप
So if I
में स्थित
remember
रह
that,
करके
and I
स्वयं
stay
के सत्य
stable
की
in my
शक्ति को पहचानते हैं।
truthful form,
अब ये सब बातें अगर मैं कहूँ शब्दों में लाई जाती है तो जरा
then there's power in that.
मोटा रूप समझ में आता है,
But when I talk
परंतु
about these
शब्दों
things
के
through
सिवाय
words,
भी
there's some
कोई
part of
बात
it
तो
that you'll
समझ नहीं
understand.
सकते हैं।
But words don't give
बाप
us a
भी
full
हमें
understanding of anything.
इतनी ऊंची बातें सरल भाषा में समझाते हैं।
The Father has
तो
explained
सरल
such
भाषा को ले
high,
करके
elevated things to us in such a simple
बाप के
language.
साधारण रूप को देख करके हम ऐसा न सोचे कि बरोबर ये बातें है या नहीं है या कैसे होगी। हम अपने अटल विश्वास
So if you have completely unbreakable
जब
faith,
हम मानते हैं
then
कि मैं
you never
आत्मा
have the
हूँ
thought
और
of
ये
how will this
ब्रह्मचर्य
happen, when will it happen, will it happen or not.
और ये भी हम सब मानते
It's
हैं
like
कि
we
हम
all
सब
believe
आत्मा
that,
एक
yes,
पिता परमात्मा की संतान।
I am a soul, and yes, we are all family of the
अब
same
ये
Supreme
बातें जो
Soul.
परंपरा से चली आ रही है, मानी हुई है, यादगार बने हुए हैं, भले उसमें मिलावट हो गई है, बाबा हमें उसकी सत्य नॉलेज दे रहे हैं।
And even in the world, although they have knowledge that has been completely mixed up
हमें
and
उसकी सत्य
changed quite a
नॉलेज दे
lot,
रहे हैं।
Baba still just
तो
clarifies the
उस
knowledge that the word
सत्य
has.
नॉलेज को
And all that knowledge that we were believing
जितना
before
हम
in the world,
सिमरन
Baba gives us
करेंगे,
the truth of that.
हमारी बुद्धि दिव्य बनती जाएगी
And the more
अर्थात
we think about what
सत्य
Baba
को
tells us, the
जानते,
more we understand the
सत्य को
truth, the more
पहचान
our
करके
intellect becomes divine.
बुद्धि के अंदर दिव्यता और आत्मा की शक्ति जो ओरिजिनल है, जितना
And so
जितना
truth
हम
brings divinity in the
अभ्यास
intellect, and it also
करेंगे
brings strength in the soul.
उतना उतना
So the more I practice
हमारी
that which
वो
is true,
शक्ति
like the
बढ़ती
stage of
है
being a soul, the more that strength
जिसके
within me
आधार पर
increases.
यह जो याद है बाप की याद, रूहानी याद,
And so this
बाबा
remembrance
याद
of the
क्या
Father, the
कहते हैं,
spiritual remembrance
यात्रा
that we have,
इसलिए ही
this
है जो
pilgrimage of
पूरा
remembrance,
हम
is the one that
सृष्टि का चक्कर सतयुग से लेकर कलयुग अंत तक
makes
अपने
me
84 जन्मों
understand
का चक्कर
my whole 84
पूरा
births, right
जान
from the
करके और
beginning
फिर
of
हम ऊपर
Satyug till the
चढ़ते
end of Kali Yuga.
उसी अपने परम धाम, उसी अपने घर में, उसी भगवान के घर
And it
में, उसी
helps me to
भगवान
remember that
के
it's now
साथ
time
भगवान और
to
मेरा
go
जो
back
रूप
to
है अपने
Paramdham, back
ओरिजिनल
to that
स्वरूप
same
में और
Father,
अपने
and
बाप से
I and the
मिलते हैं
Father
अपने
will
घर
go
में।
back into my original form and be together up
हमें उन
there.
सब
We'll meet
बातों
each
को
other there.
जितना ही हमने सुना है उसको हम जितना अंदर ही अंदर इस अटल विश्वास के साथ सिमरन करते हैं और सिमरन करते करते जब हमें उसकी स्मृति आती है,
So through remembrance,
वह
accurate remembrance of all
स्मृति
these things,
हमें
we get
अंदर ही अंदर
awareness. And that
खुशी
awareness
का अनुभव,
brings us happiness
वह
internally.
स्मृति हमें अंदर ही अंदर उस समय के शक्ति का अनुभव कराती है।
It's that
भले ही
awareness
हम
that
जब
also
फिर
gives
से
us
अपने इस
strength.
पार्ट में आते हैं इस समय के
Even
लिए,
though we might be in this time playing
वह भी
completely
अपने
different
इतना ही
part,
है कि उस समय जो हमने
but
अनुभव किया
just remembrance that what we experienced at that
उस
time,
अनुभव को हम वर्तमान
what we were at that
अपने
time in the
जीवन
golden
के
age,
अंदर किस प्रकार धारण करके
we
और
can imbibe that
वर्तमान
into
को
our present
ऐसा
life, into our
ऊंचा
current life now,
बनाते
and we
हैं
can make our life
कि तो
now
हर एक के अपने
so
हर एक
elevated
क्षण पुरुषार्थ
And all it needs is a little bit of attention and effort from all of us.
सहज सहज विधियां बताते
From
हैं
time to time,
जिससे
Baba
हम स्वयं
tells us all
को
these
आत्मा
different
को शक्तिशाली
methods to
बनाते
actually bring
जाए
strength into the soul,
बाप
power
के
into the soul.
यथार्थ स्वरूप और यथार्थ बाप के सर्व शक्तियों को पहचान करके
And by recognizing the Almighty Father and all of His different powers, His strengths,
स्वयं में अनुभव करे
then
और
we start to
इसके लिए
experience them within
ही
ourselves as well.
यह याद की यात्रा जो बाबा कहते हैं समय समय पर चाहे उस दिन बाबा ने कहा सवेरे सवेरे उठ करके क्योंकि वो समय और
That's why Baba
सब
often
काम
says
से
to us,
free
wake up early in the morning
और
because
जब
you're
लगन
free
लग
from all
जाती है
different types of work at that time.
तो वो समय ऑटोमेटिकली हाँ उस समय को इसमें सफल करते हैं
So if you automatically
अगर
remember Baba at
हमारा
that time, you're
एक
really
तरफ
using your time in a
निरंतर
worthwhile
बुद्धि
way.
योग रहता
So if you
है
constantly have your
तो
intellect's
हम
yoga connected at
इसका
that time,
अच्छी अभ्यास
you
कर
can
सकते
practice all
हैं
these things in a very
अपने
good
में
way.
वो अनुभव कर
And
सकते
then you can
हैं
have good
और
experiences.
अनुभव करने से ही
And by having
फिर
those
हम
experiences,
सहज जो भी वर्तमान मेरा पाठ है उसमें उन शक्ति को कैसे हम यूज
and I can
करें और
use all those
जीवन
powers
में
that I
धारण करें
experience in my personal
वो दिव्य
life,
बुद्धि
my
के
day-to-day
आधार से
life, using my
हम
divine
अपने
intellect.
में सहज परिवर्तन ला सकते
And that is what it means by having
क्योंकि
easy
आत्मा
transformation.
चेतन है
Because the soul is
आत्मा
a
में भी
living being.
शक्ति
The
है
soul has different
परमात्मा
powers.
पिता ने हम बच्चों को हम आत्माओं
The
को
Supreme Father, the
वह
Supreme
शक्ति
Soul
दी
has
है
given us all
जिस
of those
कारण बाप
powers
कहते हैं
to use
जैसा
them.
बाप वैसा
That's why he says,
बेटा
as is the Father,
बाप
so are the children.
सर्वशक्तिमान है
The Father
बाप
is Almighty
ज्ञान
Authority.
प्रेम सुख शांति का सागर है
He is the one who is the
और
ocean
हम
of
बच्चों को
love,
भी कहते
peace,
हैं कि
and
आप भी
happiness.
उनका स्वरूप हो
And we know that we are the
रूप भी
same
अपने
as a
जैसा
Father.
ही
We have
दिखता
the same form
है
as the
अब
Father.
ये बाबा नॉलेज हमको देते हैं पर नॉलेज का
Baba
मतलब ही
gives
ये
us
है
all this information as
दुनिया की
knowledge.
नॉलेज में
But
तो
there's a
जब प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो उस शरीर निर्वाह के लिए कार्य करने का अभ्यास करते हैं
But the knowledge they use in the
इस
world is just for their
ईश्वरीय
income.
नॉलेज में
Whereas in this godly knowledge,
कार्य भी आता है लेकिन
we do
कार्य के
work, we do
साथ
use that
साथ
knowledge in our day-to-day lives for completing
अपना
tasks. But
स्वरूप की शक्ति अपने बाप समान बनना अर्थात परमात्म शक्तियों को जीवन में अनुभव करना
But our knowledge is more to be able to experience God's strength, God's power in our life. That is the benefit of this knowledge. That's why it's called true knowledge.
जो परमात्मा के लिए गाया जाता है वो जानी जानदार है
That's why they say God is the one who knows everything in the world. And He gives us the knowledge of our part, our whole part from the beginning till the end.
उसको उन्हीं महावाक्यों के आधार पर
And on the basis of the elevated versions that God teaches us,
करते हैं और जब हमें यथार्थ रीति से समझ में आ जाता है
when we understand what He is saying in an accurate way, then we experience internally that
अंदर में वह खुशी खुशी के साथ वह शक्ति भी महसूस
we are happy,
और उस शक्ति के साथ
we are powerful.
में वह परिवर्तन
And those two things bring the power of transformation within us.
स्वपरिवर्तन से
Then only through my own transformation can the world be transformed. That's why we say, when I change, then the world will change. God has given His children such a huge task to completely, to totally transform this world and to create a pure world.
अभी 2-3 मिनट में मैं इस टॉपिक को संपन्न करूंगी.
So I'm just going to take up another 2 or 3 minutes of your time
15 मिनट
and complete this topic.
हम अगर योग में बैठे, जो भी सुना उसको उसी रीति अभ्यास में ला के देखें, और अगर किसको कोई बात न समझ में आई हो तो पूछ सकते.
Then if anyone has any questions after that, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can just sit in a few minutes of yoga and we can imbibe what we have heard.
कि इसी निश्चय के आधार पर बाबा ने अथवा समय समय पर बाप जो जो हमें विधि बताते हैं, अगर उसी समय माना उसी दिन
If we put into practice whatever methods Baba tells us on that particular day, then it's very powerful. Because we hear it in the morning and we really like what we hear, don't we? Do you have that experience? Do you have that experience that you hear it in the morning and you think, yes, this is good?
उस समय क्या है, हमें इन बातों का अनुभव है, क्योंकि शुरू में अभी तो नॉलेज का विस्तार बहुत है.
But in the early days, we used to hear things and we used to like them, and there wasn't so much detail and expansion of what Baba tells us now.
भले
And so
हम
in those
काम करते
days,
रहे,
no matter what work we
और
were doing,
जो सुना उसको या तो दो तीन बहनें आपस में मिल
a
करके
few of us
उसको
sisters would
फिर
get
रिवाइज
together and
करेंगे।
then we would revise it
रिवाइज
amongst
करने
us.
से बाबा
By
ने जिस
revising
उमंग से
it,
बोला है, जो
you
उसके
get a lot of
ऊर्जा वर्णन
enthusiasm.
किया है, और उससे जो हमें महसूस हुआ है, उस खुशी खुशी से जब वर्णन करते
And we
हैं
would
तो
explain it to
अपने
each
अंदर
other
उस
with
समय
that
वो
happiness
खुशी
of what
जो
we felt
बाबा
when we
के
heard it.
बोलने की शक्ति है, वो जैसे इमर्ज होती है,
And it's almost
और
like the
फिर
power
उन्हीं
with which Baba
बातों
says
के
those
साथ
words is emerged in the soul.
जा करके एकांत में बैठो या वही आपस में छोटा सा ग्रुप मिल करके योग करो,
And so if a few of you get together and have yoga
और कुछ भी याद नहीं
or
आएगा,
put something into practice
बल्कि
together,
जो बाबा ने
it carries a lot
बताया
of
है
power and you won't remember
वो
anything else.
अंदर सोच के, और उसकी जो शक्ति है, उससे जो खुशी मिलती है, वो इमर्ज हो जाएगी बाकी शांत।
And so once all that happiness and power from within starts to get emerged, then anything else externally starts to be forgotten or it just subsides.
करते करते स्मृति
That's why
स्वरूप,
Baba always says, through
स्मृति
awareness,
स्वरूप अर्थात
through being the embodiment of awareness,
जो बाबा हमें बताते हैं लक्ष्य स्वरूप, जो उसमें भरा हुआ है, जो क्वालिटीज उस स्वरूप की है, उन क्वालिटीज को
so through the awareness of the various qualities that Baba has
ज्ञान के
experienced
आधार
or
से,
told us to
सत्य
experience,
ज्ञान के आधार से उन क्वालिटीज
then
को अपने में उस स्टेज पर रहकर
those
इमर्ज
qualities actually take us to a very elevated stage.
स्मृति वो शक्ति है
That is the power of awareness. Awareness is that power
जिस बात की स्मृति आएगी, साधारण
that no
रीति
matter
से
what
भी
you remember, no matter what you
अरे
keep
कोई
in your awareness,
आज से
you become the
1 बरस
embodiment
पहले
of that.
कोई भी ऐसी बात, चाहे खुशी की चाहे दुख की, आपको याद आएगी तो उस समय आपके
If you
चेहरे पर
remember
वो
or if you're aware of anything that happened, say, a year ago, whether it's something happy or something sad, the minute you remember that, that whole form will emerge not only on your face, but the way you speak, the way you talk about it.
तो ये तो हुई हद की बात,
So even something that is of a sorrowful thing, if you think about it and talk about it, it definitely comes into your face, it emerges. Those are all limited things.
बातें बताता है।
Here the unlimited Father is teaching us unlimited things.
अभी जो हदों में फंस गई है,
I, the soul, have become so
उन हदों से
trapped in limited things, and I need to be freed from those limited things,
स्वरूप है, शुरू
and I need to go into the unlimited form, the original form, right from the beginning.
याद करते, जिसको हम स्मृति कहते हैं, याद करते उस समय की क्वालिटीज,
And so I need to keep remembering the qualities of that original time,
करे तो हमें महसूस होगा उस समय की जीवन कैसे,
and then I will bring into my feelings
बाबा हमें इसलिए
what life at that
बताते
time was
हैं
like.
कि ऐसे याद के बल से
And through the power of that
वो
kind of
अनुभव
remembrance,
करके फिर जब हम इस समय पर आते हैं, चलो इस समय में जैसे भी जो भी
no
हमारे
matter
में कमी पेशी
what is
है,
happening here, no matter what weaknesses
जब
I
हमने
might
वो
have as
अनुभव
well,
किया,
once I have
तो
experienced
उस अनुभव की शक्ति से
those feelings of the early days, the power
अभी
of
की
that
कमी पेशी को हम सहज ही
will help us
परिवर्तन
transform
कर सकते
our
हैं,
weaknesses
अर्थात हमारे
in our
अंदर
present
यह
life.
विश्वास रहेगा, जब मैंने ये पाठ बजाया है तो मैं अभी भी अपने में वो क्वालिटीज धारण कर सकती हूँ।
And so we will feel that the part that I have
यह
played now,
विश्वास और उस
the
विश्वास की
part that I'm
दृढ़ता
playing
मुझे
now,
करना ही
I have the determination that I can bring those
तो
qualities
ये
into my life
दृढ़ता
now.
हमारे अंदर हिम्मत देती है,
That courage, that determination that
बल
we
आता
have,
है,
give us
जिस
the
बल के
strengths
आधार पर हम अपने में फिर से
that helps us
वह आदि अनादि गुणों की शक्तियों को अपने में
to
धारण
imbibe
कर
those
वर्तमान समय
the strength that I take from remembering the original and the eternal form.
कर्म से ही
And only then can I put
हमारे
them into
संस्कार
my
कर्म से
karma,
ही
into my
हमारी
actually
प्रारब्ध
actions,
है
into the way I
तो
behave on this earth.
यथार्थ ज्ञान का
And our
स्वरूप
karma,
हम
the result of our karma is based on the way I
वाकई
behave here, the actions that I perform
ईश्वरी
here.
भावनाओं संपन्न शक्तिशाली याद में रहे
So if we stay in that powerful
और उस
remembrance of
याद के
God,
बल से
on the basis
जो
of
जो
that
बात
remembrance,
बाबा हमें स्मृति दिलाते हैं
keep the awareness or keep
उस
remembering
स्मृतियों
what Baba
को
tells us every day,
अनुभव में लाए
then we will
और उस
experience those
अनुभव के
things.
आधार पर
And that
हम
experience will,
वर्तमान समय अपने जीवन में उस अनुभव की शक्ति से अपने में
and that
परिवर्तन
experience will
ला
help us
सके
create transformation in our
तब
present lives.
कहेंगे हमने बाप को
Only then can we say that
यथार्थ रूप से
we have
पहचाना
remembered
समझ
God
जो बाबा
and
ने
understood
कही है
God in an accurate
यथार्थ
way.
रूप से पहचाना गंभीरता माना अंदर ही अंदर उन बातों को सोचे समझे और अपने
Patience
जीवन
means I have to actually
तब फिर देखो
understand
हमें
those things,
अपनी
believe
जीवन
in
से
them,
अर्थात
and
और भी
imbibe them into
बाप
my
के
life.
प्रति प्यार बाप के कार्य
And that
की
just helps me have more
भावना
love for the Father, for
उसका
His great
इतना
task,
रिस्पेक्ट
to have respect for what He is
और उस
doing.
रिस्पेक्ट के आधार
And
पे
through that respect,
बाबा ने कहा और मुझे करना ही है
I realize that whatever
ऐसा
Baba says, I have to do
सुनिश्चित
it. I have to make it practically
नेचुरल
happen.
विश्वास बना रहता
And then I
है
just keep that
जिसके
natural
आधार पर
faith in
हम
myself.
कार्य करते रहेंगे तो हमें कोई मुश्किल
Then nothing
अनुभव
that I
नहीं
do feels that
होगा
it's difficult.
अगर इस प्रकार हम अपने अंदर जैसे बाबा ने कहा बाप से गुड मॉर्निंग करके फिर
Like
ज्ञान का
simple things
चिंतन
like Baba said, say good
ज्ञान
morning
का
to Baba,
चिंतन
then think
केवल ये
about
नहीं
different aspects of
कैसे
knowledge.
समझाए क्या करे ये नहीं पर ये भी ज्ञान का चिंतन है बाबा जो हमें स्मृति दिलाते जाते हैं उन स्मृतियों को बुद्धि रूपी बल से अच्छी रीत समझ करके
So just to remember the things that Baba has told us with our intellect will create a divine intellect for us and will help us imbibe these things in our life and give us the determination to do that. Only then can we say that we really have accurately understood the Father and His powers. So with these words, I'll close the topic for today. Does anyone have any questions at all? Otherwise, maybe we just sit in meditation for 10 minutes. And just sit, not remembering anything else, just remembering what we have just discussed. Just sit in remembrance of the one Father and nothing else.
उनके द्वारा सुनी हुई बातें सुनाई हुई विधियाँ स्मृतियाँ इन सब को बाप की याद ही मानी जाएगी जिससे हमारे
So to remember the things that the Father has taught us is actually a way of remembering the Father Himself, and we forget the present completely. And we just imbibe pure energy, divine strength, and reawaken that within ourselves. This is accurate remembrance. So let's sit for 10 minutes in that remembrance. Om Shanti.